And thanks for joining us today. I'm joined by my very special guests, the brothers Neil and Matt Baldock. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
You've got your kerfuffle clapper there, limited edition merchandise. Did you get one of these funky t-shirts as well?
We got some pink ones. We got a couple of pink ones which were commandeered by some of the ladies in the office to wear down the gym. It was Nikes. So,
they're very eye-catching. I'm going to make sure that you get a couple of these as well. It's great to talk to you guys because obviously we see a lot of you online and on LinkedIn. You've got a lot of great things to say about the industry, but you're also doing some tremendous things for the industry. One of them is this new service that you've got whereby people can partner up with you for a lettings and management service that they don't need to worry about too much. So we spoke off camera briefly about who this might be for, but because it's fascinating. There's a bunch of agents out there that work on their own that are very heavily sales focused, for instance, and maybe wondering how they can diversify their revenue streams. And it seems so obvious that lettings and management is the bit that adds value to a business, but it's also incredibly time intensive. And if you miss anything in terms of the compliance side of things, it can also be potentially quite onerous. So you need to be sure who you're trusting with that business to add it on. But this seems like a great service.
we think so. We think that lettings is incredibly important. I was brought up a sales only agent, if you like, and 20 years ago sales was always the glamour part of the industry, and lettings wasn't. So we fully understand why people think. A lot of people think lettings is hassle at the end of the day. They think the property management is going to cause them grief. And I used to be of that mindset. But the facts are, at some point, the fund's going to stop in the sales market, and the lettings, the residual income can be almost your security blanket. And it's ultimately the bit that builds value to your company. So if anyone wants to sell an exit, it's the lettings book that's the real value. But it isn't something to be dabbled with either, because as you say, legislation is always changing. So we think there's a real chance here to earn the money, build value in your company, but to be frank, let somebody else do the boring stuff, and that's what we offer.
Lettings is, I mean, if you speak to anybody that values property businesses, they'll tell you that it is that lettings book. It's the ongoing bread and butter management fees that are coming in every month that dictate the value of a business in many cases, because a sales pipeline is only as good as that snapshot moment that you've got there, and some of those deals might not go through, whereas management is that gift that keeps on giving because it's a regular income for an agent. It sounds almost obvious to ask you this. I understand that one of your USPs is that this isn't a white labeled offering. This isn't something that you are running on behalf of that agent under their name. You're doing it under your own name. Why that decision to do it that way?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting question, because a lot of people ask us that when we talk to them. But the way we've kind of looked at it is, and found from feedback when other suppliers have got it wrong, is that ultimately it's about the end user. So it's not so much about us or the agent, but we're talking about their clients, their landlords and tenants, who are ultimately kind of the end service user. And what we found is landlords just love transparency. So if you try and hide things from them, and then it comes out later that something's gone wrong and you hadn't told them that you were outsourcing this and it was actually not your agency that they were dealing with, they get a bit upset about that, and it almost breaks the trust there straight away. Whereas the way we've got it set up is that it's just very transparent that the agent is their letting agent, they are their client, and that agent has chosen to partner with us as a specialist property management company. And when you explain it that way to the landlord and the client, they sort of go, yeah, that's fair enough. It makes a lot of sense. And so that's why we've done it, because we don't want to be misleading anybody. It's all about transparency, and also it's about being a partnership rather than an outsourced company.
And I suppose one of the key bits of comfort that any agent should take from dealing with you is the fact that you guys are very much on the tools. You are lettings agents. You are running active lettings business. This isn't a call center in the middle of nowhere that just sees agents as a commodity. You live and breathe this business, don't you?
Yeah, we're involved in it every single day. We're doing this now. We're both in our offices in the building with the team all here. So we feel their pain points as well. So number one, we're up on the legislation. We know what's happening because we have to put it in our own business. But we also know what works, and we're really keen not to use the word outsource. We are keen to have it more as a partnership. And then when we do something that works in our business, we can say to the letting agent, have you tried this? Even down to getting new business in, because ultimately it's in our interest for that agent's business to grow, and we want to help them grow because everybody wins.
So in terms of that setup, let's talk about a little bit about who this is for, because we mentioned one particular group of agents who it may be for, and the obvious choice of people that are not taking advantage of lettings and management as an income stream at the moment. But what about those that are doing it but feel that there may be, and there's that nagging doubt sometimes where we're time poor and that we're missing things, and we're perhaps not dedicating enough time to management, because it is really, let's face it, it's a full-time 24/7 dedication to get it right and to get that coverage right, and to make sure your landlords are covered, but also you're covered in terms of legislation. So is that another group of people that it might be for?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's really for anybody. So yeah, 100% like people that don't have a lettings income stream and want one, but want it without the hassle and to be done right and be done for them. But I mean, we speak to agents sometimes who, they're a big letting agent. They might have 300 properties under management, but they can't grow anymore, or they don't want to grow in that way anymore because recruiting people is hard. Because it's not just, that's the other thing, it's not just about doing the job in the property management. You've got to recruit the property managers and the right property managers and the quality of person, and then train them in the skills. So it's not just doing the day job. You've got to keep that flow of recruitment going, and that's almost a full-time job in itself. And so for some agency owners, they get to a stage and they think, well, actually, to grow anymore, I don't want to take on that responsibility. So I will outsource, as I say, partner that part of the business with Charles David Cassson, so that we can then take on another few hundred properties. So I think it's for anybody, really. It just depends how they're feeling in their business at the time.
And without forcing you to give me your living room pitch, I know that's a secret sauce you keep just for landlords and vendors, but Charles, the agents that will be considering using this service need to have confidence that Charles David Cassson are running a world-class management service. So tell us a little bit about your approach to lettings and management, because I think that's fascinating as well.
Yeah, well, I think we're normal people. We like running business and we have fun doing it. But we really are experts in the legislation. So there's people in this business, myself included, who, rather than go down the pub and talk about football all the time, you get us talking about some lettings legislation and you start seeing eyes light up, which others in the business on the sales side kind of think, what the hell are these guys talking about and getting excited about? But we genuinely, we like it. I mean, I see lettings professionals are almost, lawyers basically in that, or without having those qualifications, you're almost like a low-level lawyer. You've got to know all these things and keep all these plates spinning. So I think we've just got the right, and we recruit the right people. So I think anybody who is going to be using our partnership service, we don't have certain level of property manager for Charles David Cassson and then a lower level for our partner clients. We recruit the same level of person, the same level of training is given to them across the board. So we've taken the view that a landlord is a landlord. It doesn't matter whether Matt went out and got them on board or another agent went out and got them on board. They are a landlord and they need their property managing. and we've got some really good property managers here, and we recruit really good property managers to take care of them. So I think that's how we kind of view it, is it doesn't matter whose client they are as such, they'll all be treated the same.
But I think that also goes back into, it kind of goes full circle into the white labelling. It's because it's very much our name above the door on that side of it. So I'm not going to have the core Charles David Cassson customers getting a really great service, but somebody else getting a poor service, because they're still dealing with Charles David Cassson. So as Neil says, we recruit at the highest level. I'm told by, because locally we you know, yes, I think we pay the best money, but also we genuinely respect property managers. I think they're the unsung heroes of this industry. They're like the, you know, sales progressors on the sales side, if you like, you know. And as Neil says, the level of technical knowledge they have, you don't really get in other parts of the industry. So if anybody, you know, watches any of our links, we're very big on team building here and making sure that we have a really good team ethic, and that's where we run it. So even our core, you know, people in this business that aren't necessarily involved in that, if they take a call and it's a landlord of another agent, they treat them with the same respect. It's not, oh, that's one of theirs, that's one of ours. A landlord's a landlord at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think the other thing to mention, David, is that we sort of almost take like an educational approach with the landlords, because this is, you know, most industries would say the customer is always right. My view is, in this industry, the customer is not always right. But we must explain to them why they're not right, because, you know, all the time we're getting landlords saying to us, oh, they haven't paid the rent, oh, I'm going to go around there and kick down the door, or can't you just throw them out there?
Yeah.
And obviously you can't do that. So, but we have to explain why. And that's, I think, something we're very good at, is explaining to landlords in detail the kind of ins and outs of why we're doing what we're doing, and why we're doing it to protect their investment and them, which, you know, sometimes other people just don't do that.
Yeah, and I think it's a great service that you're offering, not just to that landlord, not just to that tenant, but to the industry as a whole. There is an education piece behind this. There's an education process to sort of explain to a landlord, look, this is why we have to do it in this way. We understand it might take longer. We understand that certain times you'll feel frustrated. Why can you not just barge in, change the locks, do whatever it is that you need to do? But we need to explain to them that legislation works to protect both them and tenants, and in certain ways. And if you know your stuff, you can use it to your advantage, and you can get things done properly. The consequences of not doing it properly are absolutely financially and legally disastrous, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, when landlords are sort of saying to people, I don't want to pay your 10%, I only want to pay you 6%, or whatever the case may be, you know, if you actually explain it to them in pound notes of what I'm protecting you from losing, actually, we're providing really great value, or agents are providing really great value for clients.
And talk to me a little bit about sort of the way that the tenants approach this. So, you know, for argument's sake, I go out, I'm doing that viewing with the tenant, we're going to put them into the property. I then hand it over to you guys. Do they feel like they're being passed off, or do you give them that sort of personal care and assurance that you're there for all the sort of repair inquiries, payment inquiries, anything else that they may need?
Yeah, absolutely. So they'll be treated again just like a Charles David Cassson tenant, and we get some, you know, very, very good tenant reviews. And we've got a lot of technology in the business as well as people. So we kind of see property management as a people business backed by technology rather than sort of the other way round. But we do have a lot of tech in the business, so online repair reporting, payments where tenants can actually view their account online, etc. So yeah, I don't think, again, it's about how it's explained to them at the start, and just transparently explain that you're going to be put onto our property management company that we've partnered with, and they'll take care of everything for you. Because I think tenants realise that, you know, even like to the point of referencing, most agents don't reference in-house, so tenants are used to going off to another agency for those parts of the business.
I think the real key here is the landlord and tenant journey is exactly the same if it was a Charles David Cassson customer or a Normie and Co customer. Their journey is no different whatsoever. The treatment's no different.
So they're getting that red carpet royal service from day one, which is great, and that's going to be reassuring to the agents that are using this. Talking of agents that are using this, what is the feedback so far from the people that have already engaged with you on this?
You'll be surprised to hear me say it's amazing and they all love us.
I expect it. Do you know what? You have surprised me, Matt. This is the second time you surprised me today, because we always ask our guests to give us some key facts about, you know, something that would amaze and wow our crowd. And you guys chose to say Matt is actually older than Neil. And I am amazed. Go on.
There you go, you see. So, you know, the feedback's been very good. I mean, so we're members of the Federation of Independent Agents run by Graham Locke, and Graham's he doesn't suffer fools badly in it. He made us their preferred supplier for that. And so a couple of companies in that chose to use us, and it's taken their businesses forward, because what they're able to do is now their negotiators are able to negotiate. Just get out there, and they can hire more negotiators because they're not having to hire property managers. So they can just go out and win the new business and do the fun stuff really, and then when they get it, they pass it on to us. But they know that it's being handled properly, and they get good reviews. The other thing is our property managers here will have monthly catch-up calls with the agent. Just obviously, if there's an issue, they'll address it with them first, but they will have monthly catch-up calls just to keep them updated and let them know exactly what's going on. And again, we'll bang on about it. That goes back, I think, to that partnership thing. It's not, oh, you can look online and see what's happening. It's we will have actual conversations.
Fantastic. So, I understand that the sort of setup in terms of how it works financially, without going into too much detail, you work on a sort of a fixed fee basis for the elements of the service that you provide, the setting up of a tenancy, and then the management. And is it up to them, therefore, for the agent to decide what they're going to charge their client for that service?
Exactly. I mean, as we all know, as business owners, you need to know your numbers, and that way, you know, predominantly by working on, say, a fixed fee, the agent knows if they're going out and they're charging the landlord X amount of pounds a month, they know they're paying this for their management, and that's what's coming in every month. But again, the thing just to reiterate with a lot of it is, yes, it's the monthly revenue coming in, but it's also the value adding to your business. And I think that as estate agents generally, myself included, we can be quite short-sighted, and we want the shiny stuff, and we want the quick pound notes in front of us. Yeah. If you want to be in this for a long game and you want to retire at some point with, you know, half the money that Simon Wales got, you know, a lettings business is the way to do that.
If I had his money, I'd bin mine. You know, when you look at running that lettings book and that residual income that it's bringing in again and again, we know that's where the value is. And we could sit here all day, Matt, and talk about what the sales market is yet to dish out to agents over the course of the next 18 months. I have varying discussions with agents as to what they think is going to happen. But I think most people that you talk to, we're in for a more challenging landscape, aren't we, in terms of making sales work. We've been blessed by comparison to other industries, you know, in terms of what's happened in our marketplace over the last couple of years, but we can't afford to rely on that forever, can we?
No, and I think that I was talking about this with somebody yesterday. You could have been an agent for 10 years and only known really a buoyant market, you know, at the minute. So, but I was in the banking crisis, the financial crisis, you know, and it was worrying and it was scary. All I will say is when the pandemic happened, we all had to close our doors. It was scary for a lot of other reasons. Yeah. But as business owners, we were able just to breathe, and we knew that we had the letting agency to cover everything, you know. And there was nobody here that can kind of go, oh yeah, when we went to lockdown, I knew the sales market would go through the roof, because nobody did.
No one.
A lot of people panicking. And all we're saying to people is, you know, this industry, I'll try not to get my horse here, but this industry only improves by keeping good people in it. And there are a lot of fantastic sales agents out there, but I can tell people now, a 300, 400, 500 grand pipeline doesn't last forever. And at some point, the market will turn. And if you've got this security blanket of a lettings business, then it's just going to keep good agents in the industry more. And that's what we're trying to do. You know, obviously there's some financial incentives for us, but really we want agents to do lettings because we want them to be here for the long game.
And lettings isn't for everybody. You know, I think we already touched on this. Sales agents and lettings agents are two completely different animals. And Neil, when you talking about lettings in a pub and certain people's eyes lighting up, I would imagine you polarize your audience. Half of the pub will fall asleep. Those are your sales agents, and the ones whose eyes light up, they're into lettings agents are so into legislation on a geeky level. I mean, I would say it's not exactly the sexiest thing in the world, but it keeps people safe.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, look, I just do want to clarify. There's a bit more about me down the pub than talking about legislation. But
I've been down the pub with you, Neil. That's not right.
You put a few of those wine taps in front of me, then we're off. But no, yeah, you're right. It is not for everybody. And I was just thinking about this actually. If you look at like the history of when we have tough times in the sales market, then agents get into lettings. Then the sales market gets good again and they think, oh, this is too much hassle, I'm getting rid of my lettings business. And then they come to a tough time again and they think, now what am I going to do? I'm getting back into lettings. So what we're providing a solution is, why don't you stop doing that up and down, and actually just get into lettings, but keep it out of your office and we'll run it for you, basically. And then you've got that security, like Matt says, and it's not this up and down kind of journey. I think the other thing I was just going to say is interesting. We sort of say that sales and lettings are separate businesses, and I absolutely agree. But we actually also see property management is almost a separate business as well. So here we're running three companies really. One is sales, one is lettings, as in actually letting the property, and the other is a property management company. And if you to get into property management, you've either got to employ some specialist yourself if you're not a property manager, or use a solution like this. And that's really kind of the choice people have got. But I think it just makes sense not to be in and out when there's a solution for people to have it there running in the background for them.
Yeah, I mean, as you said off camera earlier, why would you not give this a go?
And I think I'm probably the biggest convert to it. So I say I was, and still have that feeling of being a sales agent. I remember being employed once and saying to our area manager, if you put my target up, do we not have to do lettings in the branch? You know, it was kind of one of them. But now we just wouldn't be without it. But to a certain extent, I outsource my lettings business. I just happen to employ some really fantastic property managers. So all we're kind of saying is, well, you know, I do it, I employ them. Other people can do it without that direct cost of having to employ somebody, and do it that way.
It is that security net and the opportunity to build a lettings book, because presumably, let's say I do hand you over, I don't know, 300 properties to manage, and I decide that I'm going to sell that business one day. That's still they're still my clients, aren't they?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So you, as the agent, they're your clients. You have the terms of business with the client, and then you sign a terms of business with us to provide you property management services. But the agent owns the client; they retain the value of the business. And I think that we can help them with that as well, because we've bought letting agencies and we've sold our own in the past, and so we kind of know what adds value to these companies, how they can increase their fees. So yeah, it's just. For me, it is a no-brainer. I'm sure some people will say, well, of course it's you because you run a property management company. But just if you want to look at the boring mechanics of business rather than the running around doing the deals, like we say, the value is all in these contract values of having lettings and property management clients.
And are there? I mean, we don't hear that much about these sort of services out there. Are there similar sort of products in the market? How does yours sort of stand out and differ to anything that's been seen before?
Yes, there's absolutely other. We are not the only as I say, we don't like this outsourced word, but ultimately that is what it's kind of known as, I suppose, in the industry. So there are other property management companies are available, I suppose, is the way people would put it. But I think we just differ in that we're well known within the industry. So, you know, our reputation kind of goes before us and we need to protect that.
Yeah.
And we run a letting agency ourselves, and we've built them up, you know, successfully over a long time. So we're able to provide that level of, yes, we're providing the property management service, but we can also provide a bit of consultancy and advice and help people to grow their business. And I think that's where we like to call it a partnership, because like Matt said earlier, it's in our interest to help them grow a lettings book, because ultimately we're managing it for them.
And also, and I think that, you know, the elephant in the room is there was a big company that did this that suddenly stopped doing it and disappeared, and nobody seems to be talking about it before. And so what I feel is a lot of agents probably either had their fingers burnt by it or saw that and think, oh, I don't want to kind of get involved in that. But that goes back to me and Neil just being so visible. So we're a trading estate agency, so we're not a faceless company. We're a trading estate agency, so we have that to protect. But also, you know, realistically, you can't go on LinkedIn without seeing one of our ugly mugs doing a video or something. So we're not this faceless company that could do something and then disappear.
It was about time that there was some varied content on social media for estate agents, other than just Simon Whale and me fitting in between Chris Watkins videos. So, you know, you very much
clickbait of Chris Watkins and the terrifying TikToks of Simon Whale.
Yeah, and that is something you wouldn't put in front of your clients with confidence. Here's Simon Whale. But when people are using your service or thinking about using it, what would you like them to do next? So people watching this at home and they want to sort of take it to the next level or explore this with you, what's the best way of doing it? Is it literally just sort of a chat about how you handle it and you look at their business and where they're up to?
We just want to have a chat with people, and that is it. And it literally is that. As I say, I am so passionate about good agents. I spoke to a company probably a good year and a half ago, gave them some advice, and they went off and started their own lettings business. And I couldn't be happy for them because they're doing well. So ultimately, we want to help people, and if it's something we can work together on, great. We don't do hard sales pitches. We want to have a chat. We'll offer a bit of advice. It has to, because we keep using the word partnership, we also have to get on as well. So if there's something we won't take everybody on, because sometimes we just won't think there's a fit there. There won't be a synergy, you know. But yeah, really just an informal chat, see if we can help, and then we'll obviously get into numbers, because it obviously has to make financial sense for both parties as well.
I think you were right with what you were saying earlier about another company that disappeared and no one wants to talk about it or is engaging on that subject. But I think, to me, the ultimate reassurance with you guys is, yes, you are visible. You're known as being a safe pair of hands. You're also very knowledgeable, to a very geeky level, Neil, in terms of your field of expertise, which is absolutely superb when you are entrusting somebody else to effectively reflect the reputation of your own company. Because I'd be turning around to you and saying, look, these are my clients. I want them to really get the full service. I'd want them to even get a better service than I would give them. Yeah. And it sounds like that's your approach to it. And the key is, yes, it's not white label for that reason. There's the name above the door. You're putting your names on the line.
Well, no, 100%. I was actually I'm glad you said that, though, because we did set up at one point a separate brand to do this. And then we thought, well, actually, why would we do that? We're not looking to hide this, or, you know, it is us. It's us. It's our company. It's our team here. And we're just growing it alongside other agents as well, if they want to come and join us and let us help them. But it's absolutely, that's the reason it's run as one brand. And people often say, well, why don't you separate it out? Well, because why would we? It's just total transparency. We're putting our reputation on the line, so we make sure everybody's looked after. And that's really what it's all about. And that, you know, interestingly, the company that sort of went bust in spectacular style, we've actually built this service around we're basically doing exactly the opposite of what they did to go wrong. So some of the fees they used to charge when I am a bit sort of boring in terms of detail sometimes, but actually costed out what it cost us to employ a property manager, how many property managers it would have taken for them to be operating. It wasn't financially viable. Of course they went bust. Protecting deposits and holding them themselves. So, all our deposits go in a custodial scheme.
Yeah.
So there's a safety net. We're putting into place all the things to make sure things don't go wrong based on what other people have done wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in the wonderful world of social media, it's easy to lose a good reputation. So, it takes a long time to build a reputation. You can lose it overnight. So it keeps us honest. By the fact that we put our name to it and our trading company name, it just makes sure, we have to maintain those levels of service, because we don't want, the kind of the Google reviews and that kind of thing to go down.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you both. It sounds like a really good partnership service for agents that are either struggling with their own lettings and management book themselves, or they want to devote themselves to a different side of their business and still have that chug along and not just chug, grow. Yeah. And I like the fact that your approach to this is very much as a partnership, but almost that you will provide a certain amount of consultancy and mentoring, if you like, to encourage them to grow those businesses as well. And as you guys know, the reason why I think it's so important that we all talk to each other is it can be a very lonely space when you're out there fighting it on your own. And I think we're best when we're all together and sharing that. So yeah, thank you for everything that you're doing.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Our pleasure. Thanks for coming on board.
Well, the old kerfuffle clap again.